All right, so I'm gonna share something a little bit different today. The title of the video is called "Black America versus White America: The Alarming Wealth Gap Exposed." But when I was checking this out a little bit, they were talking more along the lines of black relationships, right? Which I don't have too much to comment on. I have my stance, but I don't have too much to comment on when it comes to black relationships. So I'm just going to let this video play because I think it's very valuable, and it is a key point into why the part of the reason why the black wealth is where it's at today. All right. And I don't really need, like I said, I don't really need to say much. I'm gonna let them do the talking. This is pretty much just gonna be a share video. Okay, a shared video. The channel is, and I will make sure to link the channel in the description. Rashad Abdul-Rahmaan, if I'm pronouncing that properly, but I'll link his video, his channel in the description. He's got some pretty good stuff. So for now, we'll tune in and y'all, y'all just let me know what y'all think. Make sure y'all tap in with this channel and stay tuned in to the Black Primacy channel. All right, let's go. It's Ricky Rich with Black Primacy. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Oops.
There's a talk I give on the 5 biggest challenges black people have for the next 100 years. The number one challenge is the existential crisis of the black family. The existential crisis of the black family. Marriage in our culture is down to 34%. When we were growing up, it was 85%. It's now down to 34%. 71% of our sisters are not married, 29% will never get married, 63% of our brothers are not married, 30% of them will never get married. There is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize their full human potential without family at the center of their culture. This only exists. This is an interesting but negative statistic. This phenomenon of the existential crisis of our family only exists among African American black people. It does not exist on the continent or anywhere else in the diaspora. So there must be something in the water. We must fix this. It is a lot easier said than done because it is impacting our wealth. Quick statistics. For 350 years, household median income was dominated by white people. They were number one in this country. They no longer are number one, they're number 3, and there's a reason for it. So who has the highest household median wealth in America? It's East Indians. $104,000 a year. What's the marriage rate in the East Indian culture? 94%. 2 are working. Who's number 2? Chinese Asians. Household median income $110,000 a year. Marriage rate close to 70%. Number 3 are white people. Household median income $88,000 a year. What's the marriage rate? Almost 50%. Down significantly. Number 4 are Hispanics. Household median income $61,000 a year. Marriage rate close to 70%. We are at the bottom. Household median income $55,000 a year. Marriage rate 34%, and projected based on facts and statistics that if we do not fix this, because white folks ain't fixing this, our marriage rate will be in the low teens in the next 20 years. We must, this is an enormous challenge. That's a whole talk by itself on how do we fix it. It can be fixed, but we have to, first of all, understand that this is a problem. No one's talking about this problem. This is a huge problem. It's the number one problem in our culture. So we must fix it. There's a talk
So this was a clip sent, and this is a very serious clip. Pardon me. This was sent to me. I saw it first posted by a brother I know, Imam Akil from Newark, New Jersey. And it was going around, but someone sent this to me and asked for my thoughts on it. And this, again, I repeat, this clip is very, very, to me, it really captures what I think we all tend to know in the African-American community. And I like what he just said at the end. What he really said was that no one is talking about it. No one is talking about it. And that's kind of been my position as an African-American Muslim, having served, and I still serve in the capacity of an imam for years now. I think that the way religion should be taught amongst any people, it has to be brought home to address their conditions. Like we're told in the Quran that in the Quran there is a healing for what is in the chest or the breasts, the hearts. In other words, the Quran addresses the spiritual conditions of people. In modern language, we would say that the Quran has answers, or it addresses, or it heals the psychological needs of a people. Well, the first thing you have to do to address the psychological needs of a people is to properly diagnose what those needs are. And I think that all too often, if we're coming from, Christian theology, Islamic thinking, so on and so forth, we are coming from those particular systems of education, not the scripture per se, but those systems of education, like theology school or something like that. And we're not applying the knowledge to what the specific need is of the people that we serve. And as he said, I agree. The number one problem that we have, yet oddly enough, no one talks about it, is the decimation of our family. And I'll add this as well. This is one of the reasons why I take a certain position towards rap music, not hip hop culture in the sense of, the conscious rap and things like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Sexy Reds, the Cardi B's, the drill rap, that genre of rap that's the most popular, that most of our young people listen to. That you get on World Star Hip Hop. That rap promotes behavior and thinking. It promotes a spirit that's antithetical to family. And it was something else that he said, in my opinion, that's extremely important. He said, white people ain't gonna fix it. What do we have to do? I mean, I'm putting it in my own words, but that's also my position. When we get into these conversations about rap music, oftentimes it's like, well, who created the conditions to create rap music? When we talk about the needs of black men, or the need for black men to measure up to certain standards or whatever, we tell the women you have European standards. We say, oh, well, white supremacy is holding black men back. I don't deny those things, but what I do as a student of my scripture, as an observer of the world, I'm of the position that I can't expect Pharaoh to be anything but Pharaoh. I don't expect the devil to be anything but a devil. So I'm going to waste my time and energy if I put too much of that time and energy into trying to convince the devil to be anything other than what he is. What I have a greater chance at being successful at is seeking to change myself and to change those around me in my environment. So no one's going to fix it but us. If white people were going to fix it, then they would have done it already. If white people, if it's called white supremacy, if I just take that idea that white supremacy has put us in this situation, then why would I expect the white supremacist or the white supremacist system to change and to give us that which we need to have our lives in stable condition? To me, I'm talking about now time and energy and what the chances are of success. I think we have a greater chance of being successful if we simply give all of our energy, turn our energy in-house. So Another thing that he said, no other black people. He said something must be in the water.
Facts.
No other black people. I think Nigerians, Ghanaians, West Africans, though he mentioned East Africans here in this clip, they have a very high rate of college graduation, success in the United States of America. In other words, other people of color. As a matter of fact, even the statistics with the East Africans and the Chinese Asians, these groups, these are other groups of color. These are other quote unquote minority groups. Though he didn't mention the other groups of the diaspora, there's other literature about them. So something that he said very, very important, something must be in the water. In other words, there's something unique to black culture that is making us this way. Something unique to black life. I do believe that the legacy of slavery is a part of it. I do believe that the legacy of white supremacy is a part of it. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that that's a part of it. At the same time, many of us can think back on our own family history. Many of us can, not all of us can. But you know, my grandfather came from the racist rural South, a part of the Great Migration. But I could see how in his life, he made certain headway, he made certain advances that those among his children and grandchildren didn't make. And I've seen that with so many African-American families. Most of our foreparents were poor and uneducated, to just put it quite frankly. And if they many of them came up north, or if they stayed in the South, they made a lot of progress with their life and they were able to achieve. They ended up buying property, owning land, so on and so forth. And a lot of their achievements have been wasted away. A lot of our land has been lost. There was some racist practices involved in that too, or that brought that about. A lot of their children, to be perfectly honest with you, from and again, you can say this is anecdotal, but I think after so many anecdotal stories, it becomes a sample. It becomes scientific. Now I have a sample. If I've heard this story dozens of times across a span of geography, different geographical locations, it becomes sort of a sample. So in a constant theme that I see, that the generation that was born after World War, not the baby boomers, from the baby boomers on down to now, the achievements of those people who came up in the Great Migration, they were wasted away. That's not all of us, but I hear that a lot. But I'm just saying, I mean, I don't want to say that this particular thing is the problem, but I think the first thing that we have to understand is that it's something that's unique to us. The net result of it, though, in the final analysis, is the destruction of our family. We're not marrying each other. And because we're not marrying one another, according to his analysis, it keeps us poor. It's a strong contributor to the lack of wealth in the African American community. You know, in Islam, we are told, our prophet, according to a hadith, it has weakness to it, but he said, marriage is my sunnah. You know, in other words, to follow his way is to get married. And there's another tradition that says marriage is half of the religion. And there's a reason for that. You know, marriage is the means by which human beings built wealth traditionally. A man had to care for his woman, his child. He had to go out into the world, procure the needs for the woman and child. And in time, as the family gets bigger, that activity of supplying the needs for women and children plus ourselves brings us into industry, the marketplace, so on and so forth. And this is why this is one of the reasons why the expression marriage is half of the religion is in Islam. Spirituality is one half. Marriage is the other half, but marriage is the doorway to all of these other activities that we need to support our life. So I do believe, you know, there's another teaching in the Quran where it says that the two angels, they were angels, Harut and Marut, and they came down in the kingdom of Solomon and they taught the people a science of how to separate man from wife. And there's another tradition of our prophet, praise and peace be upon him, where the devil is on his throne and he sends out his imps, his workers, and they come back reporting what they did. And he's telling this one, oh, you didn't do anything. And he's telling this other one, oh, you didn't do anything. But the one that comes back instead said, I impressed it upon a man so thoroughly, I kept at him until I separated him from his wife. He told him, now you have done something. In other words, it is to establish that among all of the sins that Satan seeks to have popular or have pervasive in the environment. You know, alcohol, gambling, murder, theft. He approves of nothing more than he approves of the separation of a husband from a wife. So, in other words, one of the greatest schemes of Satan is to separate a husband from a wife. To put that in our terms, to separate family, to not have people married. If we are married as a people, if we are married at this alarming rate that's so low, and we know that the effects of us not being married in appreciable numbers, it also contributes to our weakness in all of these other areas. We can say from an Islamic perspective that the African American people are perhaps the greatest victims when it comes to the schemes of Satan, the devil. The problem with us in religion, I said this before and I'll say this again. Oh no, I got a message come up. The problem with us in religion is that we have a non-real perception of where we should find Satan. We should look for the devil in his schemes. We should look for the devil not to locate a person. We definitely shouldn't be looking for some creature with what you call it, a red suit and horns and all of that. No, look for the influences in the culture, in society, that promote sex without any conscience, the separation of man and woman, that promote a lifestyle that works against us. So if we could do that, and that's what I'm going back to what I said about the masjids and the churches and the wherever else we go, the temples, this is where the education should be. So a part of the solution, we have to become conscious of those things that are influencing our lives. And if you go to a church or a masjid or whatever else, and they're not making you, or you are not being made aware of these things in our environment that have an influence on our life, that have an influence on our behavior, then you need to put pressure on that church leader. You need to put pressure on that masjid leader and say, hey, you have to ground us in reality. You have to put the focus where the focus needs to be. If you don't go to any house of worship, you have to be aware of that yourself. You have to also raise your children in that knowledge, to not just turn on the television, to just turn on social media and accept anything that this world offers you as a behavioral trend, as a pattern of thought, as a spirit. These are spirits being communicated to us. That's the number one. Number two, another way to fix it, those of us who are in families, those of us who are fathers, those of us who are mothers, brothers and sisters, we have to begin to demand more of ourselves. Meaning what? Me as a father, I have to demand of my sons a certain standard of behavior when it comes to women. I have to demand of my daughters a certain standard of behavior. We have to go back to the basics. All of these problems can be healed. But like he said, there's no people in the history of civilization that have ever made progress in this way. So going back to the white supremacy piece, there's no people who've ever made progress in the history of the world by demanding their oppressors to give them what they need to no longer be oppressed. That's never happened. And it never will happen. That's number one. Number two, there's no people in the history of the world who have ever made progress without having their families intact. So the responsibility is upon us, those of us who have some consciousness, those of us who know that this society and the elements in our culture that's being fed to us by demonic forces, white supremacists, whatever we call them, demonic forces. We know that they're real. What is our strategy going to be? We have to consciously raise our children. We have to consciously inform our pastors, our teachers, whoever they are. We have to consciously form as groups of people, as families, in other words, get with other brothers of like mind, other sisters of like mind. And we have to establish and project a voice of consciousness. We have to protect one another. We have to hold each other accountable, so on and so forth. So I'm going to leave this here, but I think that this is such a critical issue that it can't be ignored in our community any further, because like he said, in a decade or more, we'll be down to having our families in the teens in terms of the percentage of us who are married. And if that's the case, as a people, we will go extinct. So again, excellent clip, very powerful, deep clip, in my opinion. Keep them coming. And my position is always, I really believe Al-Islam has answers for our people. Even if you don't become a Muslim, even if if you're considering becoming a Muslim, even if you don't, you should read the Quran. You should read the teachings of Islam and see for yourself whether or not, I guarantee you will find every answer to the problems that plague our community. Every answer is found in this religion. Until next time, peace.
And there you have it, right? He broke it down in ways that I couldn't. Like I said, this is not my space. This is his space. That's why I just was like, man, I'm just gonna share. I've never shared a video of someone sharing a video. I might have to start doing that. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, the main thing, and if you've been following this channel, you'll know what I've always said, that he hammered down here is that we have to, we can't look to governments and policies. I mean, I think I've said it over like half the videos that I've done on topics around wealth, black wealth. But we're so focused on what needs to change from a government policy perspective, and from I'll say a racist person perspective, that we're not looking inward and figuring out, you know what, we just need to go ahead and do this on our own, right? Like let's create our own happiness and success where we are, because at the end of the day, this country is a white man's country, right? So why, like he said, why would they change? Why would any oppressor change the way that they move for the betterment of the people that they're oppressing? That it just doesn't make sense. Right. So, and I get it. Like, yeah, we gotta stay in their faces, and there's gotta be things, we need boots on the ground in every aspect and everywhere. But we also need not to forget that, yeah, while we are, doing the protests and fighting for rights and all of that, that when we come home, we have other plans to fight within our community and to grow within our community. And so this was just great. This was great, showing, I mean, this is seriously a serious problem when it comes to black wealth. Everybody is trying to get a bag, but, even when you get the bag, it's like, how much harder is it for you than the next person who got the bag and their spouse got the bag? So now there's two bags in the house. You know what I mean? And that's literally how it is in the black community. I know several people that are doing their thing when it comes financially, right? But from an individual perspective, and they're single, and it seems like the more money that we make as single individuals, the less likely that we're willing to work hard in a relationship, because, I mean, the fact of the matter is, in most cases, we we find that we don't have to, right? Especially as money making men, right? And so, that's just a concept that has been flown down for in the black community for years and years and years. The earliest I can remember it being like a thing in the hip hop culture, at least in our music, was the Young Money movement, right? Money over the rest, right? And that's where a lot of the guys started getting this whole mentality of like, I'm just gonna get the bag, I'm not gonna worry about a relationship, and then you start moving. Shortly after that, you start hearing, you're getting the Nicki Minaj's and now the Cardi B's and all of that are on the other side of it, telling the women like, You don't need, get the money out of a dude and that's it. You don't need a dude for nothing else, and, and it in both sides within the music has created this space of like, uh, just divisiveness and selfishness within the black community when it comes to relationships, because now it's like it's so clear, that women are just in most cases looking for what a guy can do for them, and guys are, a lot of, like I said, a lot of guys are getting they're getting their money up, and it's so easy for a lot of guys to fake it, like fake like they actually getting money, right? And so they're getting a lot of the things that they want without ever having to put in really the work. The work is literally like, I can rent a car for a weekend and rent an Airbnb for a weekend and make it look like I'm really doing my thing just to get a couple of females for the weekend, and then start on Monday, I go back to work like nothing ever happened, but I just had a good weekend. It's like it's too easy these days for the guys to make it look like they're doing better than they are, the women to eat that up, the guys, giving the women little things here and there, and there's nothing real actually happening, and both parties walk away feeling like they won, and they can remain single. And that all comes from what we feed, not just hip hop, but definitely the hip hop culture, but what we're feeding ourselves, and what we are allowing ourselves to believe as real. So this was dope. I'm glad, I was happy to be able to share this. I hope y'all don't skip over this video, because this is fact. This is fact, and this is dangerous. So, like I said, I'm not a relationship expert. There's way too many paths down that road that I leave this conversation mostly to people who specialize in it. I'm talking about what we can do financially to help ourselves, both individually and as married people and people in relationships. But it all goes together. It all goes together to close this gap and to better the black community. All right, but y'all let me know what y'all think. I love this. All right, y'all let me know what y'all think. It's Ricky Rich with Black Primacy. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications.